Oh, that's
Okay.
30 minutes.
Okay, we're doing part 2 with my friend Dennis, and he just ended part 1, and you're in the Himalayas, right?
Right.
And
Yeah, for the first time,
the
really.
first time you're 50 years old.
50 years old, doing my birthday
Okay.
up in the Everest Base Camp region.
Okay.
They call it Everest, but I mean, Mr. Everest never saw the mountain, and neither did the guy who worked for Mr. Everest who gave it the name. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm connecting with what many people up there regard as the gods. So you talked about Greek mythology
Yeah.
in the previous session, and the people there do regard the local people. Well, have you been to the Himalaya yet?
I have not.
And on our meetings we met before, one of our first meetings, I think I asked you, would you like to go?
Oh, I would, yeah.
And so.
I don't know if I'd want to climb Everest.
Oh,
but
no.
done,
No, that's actually a whole nother. I would not recommend that
that's
for
really
a variety of
interesting. I've
reasons.
seen like the lines of people and like.
Now it doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
but being there and meeting the local people and really touching what their lives are, who they are, just spending enough time there. That's what's important. Is so many people go there on their 2-week vacation. It's a rush. The acclimatization is a big problem because they're moving too quickly to get to this height from 9,000 feet to 15,000 feet. They're trying to do that in like 8 days.
It costs like what, $70,000 to do that if you want to climb Everest?
If you want to climb, if you want to climb the mountain, it costs that. But just to get to the base camp, this is talking about just trekking.
Yeah.
So the trekking is amazing. The lodges are like there's lots of lodges. Menus, beds, pillows, blankets. You don't need to carry much. You can hire a porter for $20, $25 a day and meet great people. The mountains will talk to you if you listen.
And so what do they say?
The first time I was there, they had a clear message.
Which was?
Stand. So many of us were taught to be politically correct, whatever, shy, diminutive. They said stand, and you can see that. I mean, it was a clear message. On that point, so I've been there like 5 times now. I go there like every other year, but now maybe more frequent depending on the
You just came back what, a month ago?
I came back. I was there again from September to November, into November.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I was there 30 days. But the flight out was an hour and a half before my visa expired. And the 2 years ago I was there previously, and that's a whole nother story. We'll do a segment on that, maybe, about what happened up there as a result of my wanting to help them make their heating systems more efficient. I didn't do it. The mountain did it. And the mountain has a name named Kumbila. And Kumbila is the guardian of the Khumbu. And it can be easily seen from many parts of the region.
So wait, let's go to this mountain god. That's interesting. So this mountain god is just the god of that particular area, right? That mountain. That's his only domain.
Right. And here in the Philippines, they have another name for, I think, the same god. Oddly, well, it's a different image.
We got a great big mountain sitting right there. You think that mountain's got a god?
Tolinas. No, what I'm saying is that the local people here, they believe in the deity, and the fairy of the deity has the same name. So you see, Dewata. That's D-E or D-A, depending on your spelling. W-A-T-A, Dewata. So the indigenous people in the Philippines, if you say Dewata and I are friends, they will like, huh? You believe that? And I'll go, yeah.
Never heard this.
Yeah. Well, you're getting introduced.
Yeah.
And that's and it's the indigenous. What it means, sent in English, in the Western thinking, I think, is nature. So we are in Dewata. We are part of. I mean, you get this. This is source. What do you want to call it? God, right? It's not the guy with the beard, which is one of those universes, right? But for me, it's the most real manifestation of divinity. And what comes to mind right now is to say that I think I have identified the love of my life in the feminine form And that is this nature. And the women that I am blessed with sharing whether conversations or more with are various facets and manifestations and experiences, reflections of Dewata.
Okay, so let's go back to the wife in Germany. You're married for how long were you with her?
5 years.
You were with her 5 years.
Yep.
Okay, that puts you at 55.
Right.
And
that was retirement, right? That's when the city of Fresno was starting to write checks. So at that point, I was helping to build a medium security federal prison in Mendota as an inspection manager. I was helping to manage the inspection process of the construction. And it was really a hard-ass job. I was working for a company called Nelson Construction. I was working
So you're retired and you're working. You're doing
well,
both.
on the day that my birthday happened and the city was ready to start paying me, I went to my boss at the time. I'd worked there for like 9 months, and said, "You're going to need to pay me more in order for me to stay here because it was pretty brutal." I mean, I was watching contractors get kicked financially every day. Every day they were getting shot at and hit by this prime contractor who was really smart and hardcore. So it went from softball, the city of Fresno bureaucracy, you can do the job with one hand tied behind your back any day of the week, and a lot of people did, to not just hardball, but it's like World Series stuff where people fight hard to win every day and win at anybody's expense except their own. And that's what I experienced for 9 months. So my boss said, "No, I can't pay you more. Have a good life." So I quit and brought my wife to Bali for her birthday. And while there, I said, look, can we just like bring this down to a sustainable level, live on my retirement? We're not going to be rich, but we'll live and we can just relax and enjoy our lives. And being German and being smart, as well as beautiful, I had to say. She said, I just want to get back to California and work some more. She was becoming a freelance graphics artist.
Oh.
And she just, had her new Apple laptop, and she was just full of energy. And so we agreed for her to do that. And
it's understandable. She's in her 30s, she's still.
I totally get it. And we still communicate occasionally. We were friends for a long time, and I think we still are, but she's kind of moved on a lot, and she's become a nanny in the San Francisco area. Of all things, she doesn't have children. She didn't want children because she didn't want to pass on some of the negative experiences that she'd had in her life. But oddly enough, she became a nanny, and a really good one. I mean, she's well paid, and she's so heartful. She is an amazing person. I mean, right there.
So that's the 3 ex-wives.
3 ex-wives.
And you have relationships like today with all 3 of them, or just one of them, or 2 of them?
Yeah, I can write emails to the first one. The second one has just dropped me off of her radar, and I hope she's doing well. But I think she's still living in Central California.
But only one child, right?
Only have one child.
Okay.
Got a vasectomy after the first child was conceived. No, well, born, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's the same thing, right? Biologically. And so, had I not had a vasectomy, I'd probably have a few more children. And so my lifestyle has been able to enjoy what some people would call freedom. Yeah.
Okay. So, when did you actually make the move from actually living in another country besides America? I mean, actually living there, not visiting, not vacation, but actually, I'm gonna go live here. When was that?
Well, I've been traveling a fair bit. I mean, I was going to say a little bit, but 50 countries would probably make more than a little bit to some people.
Yeah.
So, I was living in Bali 4 to 6 months every year for 6 years.
I've been there.
And it's a cool place.
It is.
They believe in balance. They believe in balance with God, nature, and humanity. And that's they'll just tell you that.
The thing I didn't like about Bali is the kids won't leave you alone. Everywhere he goes, there's little packs of children following you around everywhere, you know.
That's interesting.
It used to annoy me.
Because were they hustling you?
They would just sit, a little group would just follow you around all day, like me and my girlfriend.
You're attractive to them
Go
somehow.
to the beach, whatever. They just follow you around wherever you're going, you know, just like flies. You know, couldn't get rid of them all day.
Were you riding motorcycles at that point?
No, so I was on a cruise ship. I docked there. I actually took a group of people to the
I guess that would help explain.
I took a group of very wealthy people to Prince's Palace for dinner one night. That was a whole nother story, but it's not about me, it's about you. So,
Well, we have to do one about you sometime.
so
Seriously.
So you're in Bali 2 or 3 months a year.
Yeah, 4 to 6 months a year.
That's
for 6
basically
years.
living there,
Yeah, it was like kind of like living there, and then met some interesting people. Met an amazing girlfriend named Felice, and those who might run across this video who know her would say, yeah, she's pretty interesting. And we spent 4.5 years together, and we traveled a lot of places, a lot of Southeast Asia, some Europe. Yeah, we spent some good times in Europe too. Went back there.
So that relationship pushes you almost up to 60 then?
Yeah, I did. It did. It was in the 60s. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, 60. For sure. Actually, it was 62 or so when we ended it. And
No, not the year. I mean, I'm talking about your age.
my age, yeah.
Yeah, you're 60. Okay, 62.
Yeah, so I was 62. And something in my heart was going, you know, I'd really like to have a relationship with a woman that is happy being with me as I am, and I'm really happy being with her as she is. And I would trust her so much that I would die for her and that she would die for me. And looking at that piece of my heart for like the first time really and saying, wow, this exists in me to have this kind of relationship, where would I find that? And so people were saying the Philippines has the kind of feminine energy experience manifestation that would support that. So of all the places, of all the women I've engaged with, I thought, you know, there's a chance that I could experience that and really experience that. And so I came here looking for maybe on a farm, maybe in a community out somewhere that...
You came here looking for love. You're not one of these guys came here looking for like some young girl just for sex or whatever, because we know that's possible here. You came here looking for a true good relationship.
That's what really...
That was your motivation.
That's what really tipped it for me. And that's still...
And so where did you first come to the Philippines? Like, I mean, what city, where did you go?
Well, the first time was with Felice. We went to El Nido for a month. And that was during that relationship. But that was the only touch on the Philippines. So what when I came here was about...
But when you were there that time, though, did you have like that connection with the country? Like, you know, wait, there's something about this place?
Well, it was...
Or did you not feel anything?
According to both, you know, Felice and I,
Yeah.
it was the most beautiful place on earth, El Nido. Even though the coral was being plowed by the anchors of the snorkel boats daily, the above water level and the clarity of the water and some of the dive locations, which are protected, they're moored, so there's no anchors. And people, you know, I mean, you know, we're a real new experience. So coming here, having traveled, I had a taste of what Southeast Asian respect felt like. I want to add something. In Nepal, in the mountains, the Sherpa tribe have a custom, which is when they meet someone, they don't do the hello or good morning, casual, how are you thing. That's not what they do. Is they look at you, even for a moment, or a longer look, until they see something, and then they will say to you, Namaste. And one of the translations for Namaste is the light and spirit in me sees the light and spirit in you.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. It's intimate, intimacy. Right?
That must go back like thousands of years when humans were like Neanderthals and Cro-Magnons, how they connected with each other, you know?
It makes perfect sense, right?
Probably before even communication, before language.
Woo. Yeah. And so here in the Philippines, what I notice daily with almost each Filipino I look at is that they don't do the verbal, but
like
they
in
look,
Thailand,
but they look at each other. They look at me. I look at them, and we look at each other, and we recognize each other, and we'll usually do the eyebrow thing or the bob your head thing, and usually there's a smile involved, and it's fundamentally the same thing. You're seeing each other, and you're saying, "Wow, wow," just that, whatever you want to call it. And I really like. It's
very useful when you're since you travel like I have, and it's very useful when you're in a country you don't speak the same language. You can have a connection with someone like that,
right?
And this is a friend, this is a good person, without saying anything.
Yeah.
But also sometimes you can look at someone and see evil too.
Well, you see somebody you don't want to spend much time with.
Yeah.
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 And that's a whole nother discussion about what are we actually seeing, and that's a whole nother. Yeah.
So you're in El Nido with this girlfriend, and things are going great. And then you would go back to California, or where'd you go back?
When you weren't here. So my mom was getting more ill. Dementia was setting in and whatnot. So I wound up being back in California, helping to take care of her and help paying some of her expenses with my brothers and family for about a year. And then her condition became more asymptotic. She wasn't getting worse really, and she wasn't really recognizing who I was or being able to have a conversation.
What does that word mean? Let's explain that to everybody.
Asymptotic, right? Yeah. It's like on a curve of something growing, and then it levels off. There's a limit. There's a horizontal.
So it's like the pandemic we're in now. That's another story. We'll get into that later.
That's another story, and I love it. Yeah, so we'll do that. Hopefully, that'd be great. Today
will.
would be fun because there are things to share because we're involved in this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the moment, right? So I decided to come to the Philippines as a break from that, and my family.
Now, did you have a home back in California,
Yeah.
like a house, apartment?
Yeah. I live on the farm still that I was raised on, so I have a mobile home there. Now my brothers, I was beginning to suffer from the sibling rivalry that was
How many brothers do you have, by the way?
3.
Older, younger?
Younger, all younger.
Okay.
So
no sister.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, the first section did that, but we're in the second section,
Yeah.
right? So because my father was an absentee father, and we were raised in a way that was not very loving, a German, right? I mean, I don't remember my grandfather saying he loved me, and I remember my mother and her sister, my aunt, saying that they'd never heard it from him either. So that was, German hardcore farmer. Right. You just get up in the morning and get out there and work because your survival, depends on it. So came to the Philippines, and it was more of a vacation, casual, just get away from California, the stresses that were happening.
This would be the second time you were there.
This was the second time, but really the first time was just El Nido.
Yeah.
But this time came into Cebu. I've been invited by an American guy named Michael, who said, "Man, Dennis, if you come over here, you can live like a king. There's all these women that are going to want to be with you. You're going to have a great time." So it sounded like a great balance to what was becoming a very uncomfortable situation.
And how old are you right then, approximately?
Well, that would be 4 years ago,
Okay.
3.5 years ago. So I'm 66 now.
Okay.
So 62 and a half, like that. So, came here, fell into very casual relationships with 6 different women in 6 weeks. And the last one was like 3 weeks long, so started slowing down on those casual activities.
So where were you meeting these girls at?
Online, social media, right? typically.
Like Filipino Cupid or
Like that,
Yeah.
exactly. And got a phone call from my son-in-law, my daughter's husband, said, "Hey, your mom's in the hospital, you need to check in." So I checked in and was able to speak to my mom. She was in the hospital, had broken her leg, and the doctor said, "Your mom's not going to go home." So she's on her last.
How old was she?
92.
Wow, she's had a long life.
She has, and my German genome heritage, I think, promises that I'll live to 95. So I have that wired in.
Yeah.
Feels interesting to have that. So, my brother was able to hold the phone to my mom's ear, and he told me that the nurses told him that even though she can't speak or react, she can hear me. So I was able to tell her that I'm on the next flight the next morning, wait for me. And that's what happened. So get back to California, get to walk in her room at 2 a.m. and was blessed to spend 4 hours
That's it.
with her alone.
Oh, okay.
So there were other people that
Yeah,
came
yeah.
and went, but that was my time with her. And that experience proved to me that we all go to the spirit world. We all do. It was it was great.
It's so good you got to see her, I mean, imagine if you hadn't gotten to see her, how you would have felt if something happened to her, and you never got to say goodbye.
Yeah, the nurses came in and said she waited for you. And
How long did she survive after that? Like how many days?
like she left the next morning at about 2 a.m.
That's amazing. She did wait for you, didn't she? Wow. Have you ever had any dreams about her, anything like that? Like some people have dreams about their.
Like a revisitation.
Yeah.
Yeah, not like a vision that I have had some of, but not like that. But I can hear her voice.
You still feel connected to her.
Oh yeah.
Do you believe in a lot of religions? They talk about their dead relatives and how they surround them, almost like guardian angels. That they're still there in some way. Do you believe that you have these spirits that are around you that are to help you, that are
Yes.
You do believe that, yeah?
Yeah, and there's a practice called systemic constellations. Some people call it family constellations.
Oh wow!
Have you heard of it?
No, I haven't.
It's fascinating, and I'm surprised that I haven't engaged in it more often here. And I'm familiar with it. I've been to like 100 or maybe like that number of these kind of meetings. I was introduced and
You're
engaged.
in the Philippines?
No,
Oh.
in Bali,
Oh, okay.
in Ubud, by Marie Jose,
Okay.
who's an amazing person. She has the gift of openness. And so she helps people. Family Constellations is about allowing people a sacred space to represent whatever needs to be or wants to be represented. And the intention and the result of these experiences is that people get healed emotionally and spiritually. And I've watched it.
Wow.
And I felt it. And it's happened. I mean, that's a whole nother. So
you did this after your mother died, or you did this?
No, this is back when I was in Bali, those
yes, I
6
thought,
years,
yeah.
right?
So
So I was familiar with
So you
that.
haven't done it since then, though.
Not right.
Is it done
haven't
through hypnosis?
I don't
or
know
how-
why. It's
How
not,
is it done, though? I mean, is it just? I mean, what is it? What
Yeah,
is
okay, what it is.
The technique.
Thanks for asking. So you have a group of people. It can be 2 people or 20 people or whatever, but it's usually small groups. And you form an intention in what you might call a sacred circle. By the way, we're sitting in a sacred circle. I don't know, your camera doesn't catch it, but we're sitting in a traditional circle out here by this waterfall. And a person is a facilitator, and they just kind of help organize the activity.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a person who has an issue or a question or a problem, and that person will, in almost the briefest way, describe what their situation is without expressing judgment or opinion much about what's happening. They just say, this is the situation, and sometimes they'll say, this is what I'd like to see resolved. And then that person with the question is asked to ask anybody whoever they feel, whoever they're felt, to represent themselves, to represent them. So like if I had a question about my mother, for instance, I would say, hey Mark, would you represent me? And you might say yes. And then the facilitator might say, okay, Dennis, now ask someone to represent your mother. And then I would ask somebody, they may say yes or no. Sometimes different things are represented. Money's represented, things, places, lots of things, anything can be represented. And it's not really a role play. It's a
Sounds like almost like a seance in some way, except for with like
that's the word I used originally, right? And so I went there to debunk it, right? As did Felice originally. And
so are they like channeling the
right, exactly,
the dead person,
or the live
spirit,
person, or the thing,
or
money,
the thing.
whatever it is, murder, whatever it is. I mean, anything can be represented, anything.
So you basically get a non-biased feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly, and
Your
it comes from your
emotions
feelings.
aren't involved in it because there's two other people.
Right. And so people are encouraged to not have a dialogues unless it's really, something that wants to come out. So not a lot of conversation, but a lot of presence. People are present in these representations. They're not role playing. They're just feeling whatever comes up. It's really trippy. And I'm actually sensing embarrassment now and guilt for not exposing more people here to the process and inviting them. So that'll change.
Yeah. Well, so all these things have happened to you. When we first started off, you're saying you're a devout Christian.
Right.
And so where has that needle moved now? Where are you now?
To the multiverse.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, there's a Jehovah God, and there's a Buddha, and there's all the 30,000 Hindu gods, and.
So basically whatever you believe exists somewhere.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, in the multiverse theory, my understanding of it, there's so many, like for example, there's so many suns in the observable universe. There's more than all the grains of sand and all the beaches in the entire world. And just mathematically, basically anything that you can imagine exists somewhere. There's some place where Santa Claus fucking exists. Mathematically, there's some place where, Planet of the Apes happened.
And
all mathematically.
And.
And it goes on forever. Yeah.
So my use of the word "or"
Yeah.
gets to be replaced with the word "and."
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's another story.
Well, it's a great story.
Yeah. So,
We'll do that sometime.
when did you come to the Philippines for good? Like you're actually.
Oh.
Do you have a place right now in California, or is that gone? Have you sold it?
It's
or?
being sold.
Being sold. Okay.
Yeah, I can't agree with my brothers on how to handle the property.
Yeah. But
So
basically, you live here now. This is your home.
Yeah.
And so when did you come here and decide I'm coming here to stay?
Right.
When was that?
I moved into this house in January 3.5 years ago.
Okay. So you've been in Valencia Dumaguete for 3 years.
Yep. And I've traveled around a bit.
Now, why did you choose this island? I mean, there's 7,000 islands here? Why did you choose this one?
Dumaguete was supposed to be this, expat mecca, and
Who told you that?
oh my God, I heard of several places, but it just so happened that when I came to Valencia, from having been to Cebu and a little bit around Cebu Island, Valencia has some people say that Tolinas, the mountain up here, has a lot of magnetite or something. I'm not discounting anything, but I sense a more friendly environment here. And
I like that mountain too. I don't know why, but I just love that mountain.
yeah,
where I live now and where I'm moving, that mountain, my front porch, there's a mountain right there. Yeah, that's why I'm moving there.
See?
Yeah. I'm going to pause it right here.
All right.